are welcome to actually to for us to prove are welcome to actually to for us to try, and then we can build on that. So maybe after my brief session, then I will hand over to my elder Matumba to actually share with us on the Bible school, the Verse of Prophecy Bible School. The thinking around this one is that I was thinking about it. We look at it as just a school, but when you actually look at the material which is used, it's publishing. So that we actually change this silo mentality, to work in silos, so that we also incorporate it as part of our publishing efforts. Because the point is that it also uses paper and ink. Okay, so for him to actually share, especially since we are also running the broadcasting on using our platforms, so that it's recorded, so that we can also share the content for him to clarify around the Bible school, and obviously it will be part of the efforts which are part of the publishing department. So maybe let me just go back to the audiobooks. So I've shared this morning my experience of seeing someone, a brethren who was working in her garden in the morning whilst listening to an audiobook, Sister White book as well. So it came to my mind that it gives you convenience compared to an old method of having to sit down and reading a book, okay? You have to carry it. If it's more than one book, you have to carry a bag. But in this, within today's context, because of the use of technology, we find ourselves having everything right at the go inside a device. Basically you have the entire Ellen White estate right in your pocket on daily basis. But the missed opportunities that we carry it with ourselves, and some instances, most of the time, we lose an opportunity of how can we strategically use it. And I just wanted us to have a conversation. For those who are using it, how does it work for you? So I'm one person who believes in practicality. So, we can talk about things from a theoretical perspective. It's theoretical. But the main thing is that we need to share what works. And something that works, it's something that when you do it, it might be something simple to you, but you might find it that it's effective. And you might find that the next person might actually think that doing that thing is difficult until maybe probably they hear you that this is how you do it. And when they actually try to doing it, and they see that it's very effective, okay? Sometimes we tend to complicate and uncomplicated, or instance of simplifying what's going on. So I want this session first just to share our experiences. Then at the end of the day, you should pick up one that you think it will actually work for you. Let me just start by me sharing. For me, what I do is audiobooks. Before I sleep, I would actually put my earbud, and it's my way of reading. Sometimes you find yourself falling asleep. You don't know which part of the book you actually ended, or you last heard. And the following day, you will start where you remember that. You find yourself repeating the same section over and over and over. But you find that repetition, it actually engraves the content into your mind. And you end up reflecting more about that. It's just the same as reading a book. I'm a type of a reader. I don't read. I've got a funny way of reading. I read in a form of puzzle. So I get bored when I read straight. Okay? But I get excited when I read a portion here, a portion there. Sometimes you just open a book. Whenever my eyes land, I would start reading from that. Then I would ask myself and be curious that what happens before, what happens after. You understand? But at the same time, what I have learned about reading the spirit of prophecy is that a lot of people, they think that when you quote a quotation, it's a measure of your reading level. And forgetting that the most important thing is the understanding and the application of what you read from the spirit of prophecy. But what we tend to do, we tend to become judgmental, to say, if I stand here and I don't quote from the top of my head, I might not necessarily be a reader. Or that's what people do. And only to find that I do read, and maybe I've got a favorite book. It's just that so there's some readers, they will not go through the entire set, but they've got that one book that they repeat over and over. And I know that one common book is Steps to Christ. You'll find a person says, I have read this book 20 times. Then you've got others who say, I have read Deserve Ages. The others who say, no, he likes Great Controversy 20 times. But the point is that we are reading. We are reading. And the benefit is that when you are listening to that book or reading it, Elder Simpi, maybe which is not of interest to me, it's of interest to you separately. We are able to share. Because it would be boring if you share something I know. But if you share something that may probably I have not read, maybe it might increase an interest for me to look into that. So that's actually the benefit, to say that even though, as long, the point is that the culture of reading is the same. You can't remember everything. We don't know the Bible. You can't remember the Bible end to end. But when a preacher speaks or he preaches and he touches a certain parable, but because we usually have time to read the Bible, we have an idea where to find it. So the brain will tell you. So I wanted us just to share in terms of your Elder Tapper. Have you used your audio books, or are you still on the old method?
Primarily, I'm an old method guy.
Okay.
Primarily.
You like it.
That word primarily is very important.
Yeah.
That primarily, that is how I read. I read like this.
Yeah.
However, there are times when I want to read while doing something with my hands.
Okay, yeah.
Like this morning. This morning, I wanted to read Steps to Christ, chapter, not Steps to Christ. I was reading the Desire of Ages, chapter 39, this morning as I woke up.
Yeah.
I wanted to read, it's called The Feeding of the 5,000.
5,000.
Obviously, I don't have time, it's Sabbath morning, but I wanted to read that, and that's because I wanted to share today. So I used what? Audio book, as I was bathing, as I was preparing myself with other things. So it just depends on certain days, those funny days when I want to read and listen while doing other things, I do use audio. But mostly I'm primarily a hard copy person.
Okay. How do you read? Let me just maybe add context to this question. There is this, I think, what should I call it? This myth to say that when you're a reader, you have to memorize what you read. Some believe it's word to word and what. So you read based on understanding, to say, this is what I deduct, I learn from what I'm listening onto. You take 1 or 2 points which you would also apply, incorporate into your life. So how do we apply that? Because the main thing is that we read, it's fine, But the most important thing is that what we deduct from what we read, we must find a way into reviving and enhancing our spiritual and our day-to-day life. Yeah, maybe just share of how it works for you. We are just sharing ideas. Yeah, it's fine. To Sister Paris, okay, yeah. He's reading. She's an old fish. Yeah.
It's okay.
And just to add, you see, you had context because you were reading as part of the preparation. So there's context. There are moments where you read for your own self.
Yes, exactly. And I wanted to make that point that I read, whether it's the Bible, whether it's the Spirit of Prophecy, for different reasons. There are times when I read for my normal devotion.
Yes.
For my normal devotion, where I actually go systematically on a particular thing. There are times when I'm reading a book afresh, a book that is readable straightforward. For instance, The Great Controversy. I just read it straightforward from 1 to the end, The Desire of Ages. But there are books that even when you are studying them, that are not systematic in studying, that are based on themes. Steps to Christ is one such. Steps to Christ is a thematic book. You can go and take one theme, and you don't necessarily should have known and read 2 other chapters before.
Yeah.
The same goes for last day event or
early writings. Yeah.
And some other books that are thematic. You can
Yes,
just go
the
straight to that
counsels
theme.
and
Counsels on Foods and Diets.
Yeah.
You don't need to read the whole book from left to right. Ministry of Healing. You go to the principle where you are going to study about particular health, and you read about it. That's how I do. So there would be those books that I read from left to right, as in start, and I keep going, Desire of Ages. I just keep reading it because typically it follows certain chapters of the Bible, and I just read going forward.
Yeah.
Then there are those that I will read thematically. Then the third one is what you talked about. In response to something, somebody has asked me something about politics. I know there's a young man here who always asks me about politics. He's asleep there. So then I go into Spirit of Prophecy, and I read from different books around politics, around voting. And S1 is actually starting to say, here a little bit on Desire of Ages, here a little bit on these councils and all of those things. And then I make a story or a full understanding of what Ellen White said about those things. So I think the key thing always for me, to summarize, is what am I trying to achieve with the study? Is it my normal devotion? Is it my preparation for something else? But the last one I think that you asked is, do I read to memorize the verses?
Yeah.
Now, for me, that is more of a personal thing. I don't memorize. Even at school, I shunned away from memorizing text. And I study principles, only principles. I remember I made an example to someone not so long ago to say, at school, I would help people to study, to actually answer mathematics question. And I would help them, show them how it's done and so on. But when the question comes during exam, I would be the last one to finish it if the exact same question comes, because the other ones, the guys have crammed the question. I answer it as if I'm seeing it for the first time, because I just apply the principles again. So if you show it to me again, I apply the principles again from scratch, because I didn't memorize the answer. But that is just my weakness.
It's not a weakness. I think our brains are wired differently. So why am I touching the issue of memorizing? It is because we've got other schools of thoughts where they would, as we are sitting Dala, they would think that if you don't quote a quote from the Spirit of Prophet, you are not Adventist enough. No, we've lived that experience. We've got people like that. Okay, but yet there are people who are studying their word. There are people who are reading the books and what, but they can't quote, but they know what the book is all about. Okay, They know what the book is all about, because this emphasis of memorizing, it's important. Okay, it's important that you obvious. I'll bet that your favorites you will know, because they touch you. They are so special. They are so special to you, and maybe that your favorite, it will be the one passage or one quotation that will keep you for the rest of your life, spiritual life, until Jesus comes. Do you know where I'm going? Because what we tend to do, we tend to think that because I've got this shelf of books, I must actually cram all of them. I'm just emphasizing one that is saying that, yeah, says to him, it's principles. It's actually, so to him, within the context of our spiritual life, is that he will know that what are those fundamental beliefs in which we need to believe in which how we need to live. It will be a principles that actually guides our life. So I'm trying to emphasize that we need to make reading to be more appealing, okay? But in our own personal way. Do you understand? Different ways, okay? Different way, so that we can have a culture of reading. Once we have a culture of reading, we are able to have a fulfilled spiritual life. Okay. Before I hand over Mdala, yeah. Recipe, over to you.
Okay. For mine, my experience with audio books stems from the Bible.
Yeah.
For me, when I use audio books is specifically for the Bible itself.
Okay. So listen to the Bible.
I listen to the Bible.
Okay.
And now, because remember, the Bible was written in a language that's not ours.
Yeah.
Even most of the Bibles that we have are English.
Mm.
And English is not a first language to most of us. So you find that sometimes you read the Bible, you read. You are reading it from a certain way of thinking. And then one day you go and you play an audiobook of the same chapter. And you then realize that there are certain nuances of the English language that you had not even thought of, that will make you understand something completely differently. Even how the punctuation is used and things like that. So I found that to be very, very useful, that sometimes you read and it doesn't really mean much. You're struggling. So I found that as you read, as you listen sometimes, and as you listen to the inflections and all that, and that come with someone narrating the Bible chapters, you find that you gain quite a bit much more. You understand things in a new way, because someone has read it in a different tone, and then you understand, oh, okay, this was talking about something completely different from what I thought, or what I thought was correct, but there's also this angle. So I find that with the Bible specifically, for me, with audio Bibles, I found that has been very useful for me to gain a better understanding of certain items, certain passages in the Bible. So yeah, and to the second issue of whether how I read the Bible, I tended to be more of a wherever the Spirit leads me.
Yeah.
If I open the Bible and it lands on Psalms, God is saying read something that applies to you at that time, and most of the time it should work. But as I entered a chapter where I now had children, I then reverted to a more systematic approach of reading the Bible. I read the Bible so that I read it with the children, so that I can also take them from point A to point B. Because for me, I already have the background of most of the issues that are in the Bible. But now that you are doing a devotion that includes children, I have got to take children from point A to point B to point C, so that they understand the progression of how some things went in the Bible. So it is now more a deliberate approach to reading the Bible in a systematic manner, to say, if I'm reading about the kings and the history of Israel, I've got to start from point A and end at point B, and make sure that the children understand that before there was no king in Israel. Then because the children of Israel cried for a king, they were given so. So I have to take the children on that journey now. So that is how now I read the Bible, because it is now part of a devotion that has to be passed on to the next generation to understand. Yeah. And then in terms of whether memorizing or not, I do memorize. There are certain things that I do memorize that have got particular significance to me.
Yeah.
Where, as I am thinking, that's the first thing that comes into my mind. Where there are certain verses, like if I'm thinking of something, then I go to myself by the rivers of Babylon, there, and so forth and so forth, because it has some particular significance in my life, and it helps me through certain things. So there are certain verses that I'll keep as a song in my heart. Yes, most of the things, the Bible is quite vast, and most of the things that you need to understand, they are principle. But there is a song in my heart in some instances that I keep that will help me through certain phases that I'll be going through. Yeah, so that's my experience there.
Thank you, Elder Jamba. What I'm picking up from Elder Jamba is that the different contexts of reading. So just to add, picking up from Elder Dede, you mentioned that there's a way of reading personal devotion, but is preparing for a presentation. And then also Elder Jamba, just to add, Elder Jamba makes another dynamic to say that when you read for as part of the family devotion, so the dynamics of having a family actually impacts the choice of the content you read, how you decide to read it along with the children, and also the objective, to say the objective is for actually I'm doing it in a systematic way, that as we're doing it I'm teaching the children, but being incorporated into our individual ways of how we read. And his emphasis here is the audio, it's basically the Bible. And so he mentioned something different that I'm actually thinking about it now, that sometimes when you read something, when you read it by yourself, you might find that the impact is different when someone reads it to you. And he mentions things around vocabulary, punctuations and all this, which are the things that probably when you read sometimes you miss. But when someone reads it for you, it's totally different. So you remind me of the old preachers. When we were growing up, you had preachers, when they were preaching, they would want you to sit here and read for them. He would hit a verse, and he would stop and wait for you to read. And you would find that now I understand why they were so effective. Because if they were reading by themselves, the impact is actually different also when someone reads. Because sometimes when they are listening to someone who's reading that verse, it actually does something to them, that they actually present the very same verse but differently, as opposed if they were reading it for themselves. You would have all those preachers that say, stop. And those, they would recognize those nuances, the commas, the stop, the full stop, the punctuations, and all those, the way it's written, it will actually change the message. So we have another dimension of reading. Another one. Who's that? It's you. Oh, the mic. Yeah, it's fine. Then I think, can I see the last sentence? Then I'll need to hand over to Elder Matumba. Yeah, after you say. From the Bible. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Brother Charles Matumba was preaching. I think I got on Joshua 7, verse 9.
Yeah.
I don't know if someone picked that one. Joshua's battle was never about himself or Israel, but about God's name.
Yeah.
What will you do for your name's sake? It's very important to memorize that because once you recite it and put it, you meet a context where you're going to have to say, God, it's not about me here. What will you do for your name's sake? It's very important because the Bible itself says, for thy word have I hidden in my heart, that I may not sin against you. So you need to have certain key texts that you should be able to recite because in the right time,
Yeah.
the Holy Spirit will bring it to memory to say,
In memory.
you
True.
need to recite this against your enemy. It's the only weapon that you need against your enemy. It's very important and it's a good weapon against the enemy, and sometimes we neglect it. So look at something that appeals to you quite well, especially small short key texts. You can improve it in terms of how many you do it or how long you do it according to your abilities, but it's very important to keep a verse in your heart.
Yes.
It's a good weapon against the enemy. And then there's also been found that actually those who memorize verses, it does something to their IQ, neurons and other things. So it helps your well-being. I don't know how it is, but there are some studies in that area. So just don't take a big text. Just take a small like this one I've taken. In fact, it's not even the whole verse 9. It's actually
Just say
last sentence
Yeah.
of verse 9. That the whole context when they were defeated in that city of Ai, he had to appeal to God to say, what were you going to do for your name's sake? Not about us, not about Israel, not about Joshua, but what will these enemies talk about you? Because we talk about you, we preach about you, defend your name. And God usually rises, especially he owes loyalty to his own word. And it's important that we do that. The other one I wanted to say, I've just added you today. We wanted to meet on Thursday until that. We have been. I don't know if you noticed in the personal ministries report. So there is this what we call PM broadcasting.
Yeah. Okay.
So PM broadcasting we wanted to meet on Thursday, and then something happened. The deacons brought some of that prayer in the evening. But what we want to do is to say, instead of memorizing the whole audio book, why can't we get a paragraph, 2 minutes, 3, maximum 5, where you think this one talks something sense? Like the ones, Brother Chim, if you saw someone saw in Amo, that small one. If someone, just even a kid, he reads it, he recites it, and then we put it on YouTube and others. So throw in short Spirit of Prophets excerpts, paragraph 1 to 2 minutes, where someone reads and it makes an impact. And then as you play, somehow they settle in your mind, but you just want something that people can easily, as they drive or listen to the TV or something, but they can easily quote.
Okay. Thank you. Short. It says short, something you can remember. Repetition, 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 repetition. It gets engraved in your mind. Taska, what kind of a reader are you? It's a simple question. Yeah. How do you read?
How do I read?
Yeah.
Oh, for me, I like to really understand what I read, and then I like to go into the context of what it is I'm reading. It becomes a bit of a problem because then I could actually end up researching more of what I'm reading. Like a few weeks ago, I started reading the books of First and Second Kings. And I only started reading that because I actually started reading was it Matthew 1, with the genealogy of Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically what caught my attention was the idea was when John's father.
Pardon? John's father.
John's father, Zechariah, isn't it?
Zechariah, yeah.
Yes, he was a part of the priesthood that came at his point in time where he was supposed to go into the temple, and that was referring back to now the priests that had been demarcated by David back in Chronicles. So I just wanted to read that.
Okay.
And then I just got caught up in the whole entire Chronicles and Kings there. But in the end, I still did come back to it. So basically, when I read, I tend to just read and then research what I've read, just so that I know the context of what I'm reading.
Okay. Is that the only way?
Probably not. That's the way I do it.
That's when you read as an individual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another context?
With the family, mostly it's reading to get to the point of what it is that's being discussed.
Okay.
Yeah. And then looking for supporting text as well. This is usually during devotion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pose this question now. What kind of content do you like reading? Okay, let me put spiritual content. I've always loved these devotion, one page with devotional write-ups, especially the ones that talks about stories. There was one in my there's one devotion. I had a devotion that talks to. It was for young people when I was younger. Before all these responsibilities and the stress. I enjoyed it because those were stories. Remember, they would have a verse on top, isn't it? They would have a verse, then it would actually be a story. It would be something that you remember for the day or sometime later. There was one devotion was around a Honda. Someone was writing his experiences about his car, a Honda. An old beaten up Honda. How reliable it was. Beaten up as it is, but the engine was right. So he referred to that engine as the heart. He says that we might be beaten up, we might be ruffled up and what, but our hearts must be right. With God. You know that type of content. Because why am I raising this question is that for also young people who are watching, because the thinking should not be that when we say encourage a culture of reading, using audiobooks and whatever, it should be we must channel them to things that they enjoy. Because as they are reading it must be something that will make them to come again and read more. Obviously, it will change with context. The older I got, I also shifted because it goes with maturity and time and relevance and context. So that's why I'm saying that what type of content shakes you up, man, your heart. Like there are certain things that you've been reading since you were a child. Even today, every time you pick up that piece of paper, it doesn't change. Mom, Paris, what type of? Because we do have Bibles, we do have books, we do have.
Okay, I can. There's a lot of things that I read.
Yeah.
Interested in a lot of things, but there's I like to go back to old Sabbath school lessons.
Yes.
I like to go back to those, and when I read back again now, I get more other things, because sometimes when you do your Sabbath school lesson, you're just preparing for Sabbath. I must be ready and know what's happening. I mustn't be lost when they're teaching. But now when I go back and read, those things, they like open up my mind.
Yeah.
And I enjoy reading that. And then those lessons also, because long ago we'd use a hard copy most of the time. They always have a story at the back.
Yeah.
And I enjoy those stories. I go back to them. You get a lesson from those
Mission
stories.
story.
Yes, yes. So I keep the copies. I like those books. And sometimes I take like from my in-laws. I take the books from them. They like when they're reading the lesson from like they'll always have some notes
Yeah.
wherever
That's
that,
good,
and
yeah.
I read those as well.
Yeah, all those
Yes.
answers. Yeah.
It's like they explain.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to read those as well. So I enjoy that.
Yeah. You're more like me. I have few copies in my library in 1975. Remember the ones were more like a file. It had to hardcover. Then I have those, if I remember, 1985, 1993. I still have it. They're so interesting when you sit down and you read them. So I've got a couple of few in a vernacular language.
That I
Especially when you
enjoy.
read it in a vernacular, your own vernacular language. It does something to you. Like when you have to combine in English and vernacular, you're able to remember it because it actually was written in your own language.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very. So I'm like
And I'm to
the
be ready.
fathers here
Bishop, yeah.
who are reading their lessons. Then write your notes. Your children's children will read that.
Yeah.
Try
Yeah.
and do that. Don't throw away those notes. It's interesting for you when you're older and read what your parents were thinking then.
Mm.
It's very, very nice. You learn a lot.
And it becomes part of heritage. That's what part of family heritage. They become sentimental. Those small things, those small notes you put them, and in the it will inspire the future generation. Thank you very much for your contribution. I'm managing time. Then I'll hand over to Elder Matumba. I think let's just do it until 22. Is it fine? Okay, I think yeah. Okay, it's fine. Then He lifted me up from the deep mighty clay, and He planted my feet on the King's highway, and that is the reason. Sing and I shout, for Jesus came down and He lifted me up. He lifted me up from the deep mighty clay, and He planted my feet on the King's highway, and that is the reason. Sing and I shout, for Jesus came down and He lifted me high.
Thank you, my elder. Is it working properly? I think it has been a blessing. I just want to share something which I have started. I think it's for more than a year now. So how I started to publish some verses on my Facebook page. So I would put a verse there and then interpret the verse from an Adventist perspective. And I got lots of good comments, from even non-Adventists. And then with some time, I thought, let me create a dedicated group where like we share these verses. So I did open that group on Facebook, and I even invited some of the church members. They are part of that group. And how I do it, like I pick a verse, like one verse in a week or two verses in a week, and then throughout the whole week I'm kind of reading that verse and also following that approach, Elder Minga. I also kind of memorize that verse, and it kind of embeds into me. And then around Friday or Saturday, I write a short devotion based on that specific verse, and I post it on that group. So that group has now about 200 members. So each one reads the verse at their own time. some during the week, and you even see some comments coming there. There's one I posted. So why I'm saying this, it comes in the context of publishing. To say, I was not even aware that this is also publishing until you explained into me that, these things are part of publishing. So this is one I published it was on 7 June on this platform. Yes. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the Sabbath day in holiday. So it went to all the members, and most of them are non-Adventists. And I even saw some comments coming there, to see they want to get interested in knowing,
How many comments did you get on average?
So it's not so many comments, but they are meaningful comments.
Yeah, but
sometimes I would say like 6, 7 comments.
so if it's 7,
Yeah.
maybe like weekly, if we were taking the Southfield report, we would say I have reached 7. Because for the method that they responded, we have reached 7.
Yeah.
However, we
So-
could actually have reached more.
Yeah,
Because
you
others
actually
are
reached
still,
more.
Yes,
Others are shy.
Yeah, others are shy to so they are shy, but I find it very, very effective. This is another one. By the word of the Lord, the heavens and earth were made. So I don't come open that I'm condemning the other denominations which are not SDAs, but I'm kind of enlightening them so that they can, slowly, they know the truth, about the Bible. So I just thought I can share. Amen. I won't go into the details because I think this needs a separate session. But I want to, there's a comment I made on the way forward of the Bible school, and I want to start with that comment. It embeds well with what Elder Maslang was saying. So the comment says, this is on the way forward. How do we move forward? It says, we need a cross-functional plan and collaboration within the key departments in the church. So it's that point we're talking about, not working in silos, where we see ourselves as separate from publishing or other departments. So I listed some examples here. I said education, children's ministries, prison ministry, publishing department, and the other personal ministries departments. So we can work together and come up with a very, comprehensive plan on how we move forward. We have one goal that we have. Yeah, I want to read the goal of the VLP school, and you'll see that it's exactly the same goal that we have for the publishing. So the goal says, it says, we are a unique multilingual institution, carrying the gospel to any person within the reach of a postal system or internet access, and bringing the joy of salvation to men, women, and children in every city, town, and village. We want to be the leading soul-winning institution in Southern Africa, nurturing our students and preparing them for the second coming of Christ. So it's very interesting that we have these powerful tools in the church, and we're not even aware that they are at our disposal. For example, the VOP ministry, I had a chat with Sister Palesa earlier this afternoon. She seemed very interested in all these tools that we have, that we can utilize. The same way you're talking about the publishing tools, about Adventist radio. I saw last week a friend of mine, she posted on Facebook that she's going to be talking on the Adventist radio. And I just became interested, how is she going about through this? So I would want us to follow up on your discussion earlier this morning on how we can also get a platform onto that Adventist radio. Then just on the Bible school, just to enlighten, I know I only have a few minutes, we have managed to re-register. Because I think earlier in 2019 or so, there was a registration for Lyttelton as a school, and then it lapsed. So sometime last year we managed to re-register. So we are fully accredited. So that means that we are an accredited center. We can administer the marking and everything. And then we send the names only to Cape Town to say, these are our students. Then they can send us certificates to enable us to have graduation. So I think that lessens the burden. I was explaining to Sister Palesa that the way I did my lessons, it was through this postal system. So I would do 3 lessons, I post them to Cape Town. They mark them after 3-4 weeks. They post them back to me. They send 2 more lessons. I do. So it took me many, many years to do these lessons. But now we are blessed that we have the lessons here. We don't have to go through that long process. We also now have the online platform. So some of these courses, I think 5 or 6, are on the online. So we are going to share with the church. I know people don't know all these things. So we share the link. It's very easy. You just need your email address. Then you go on there and register your full names as you want them to appear on the certificate. So you put your formal names when you do the registration. Because if you put your nicknames or shortened versions, when they send the certificate, it's going to be exactly like what you registered. So once you register, then you can even go there with your gadget, your phone or laptop or whatever gadget. You go there and do the lessons, at your own pace. Once you finish all the lessons, immediately they send you a certificate to your email. I think that's lovely. Yeah, it's very, very doable. I've done the 5 lessons also on the online platform. But I want to confess I'm also more of an old school guy. I love the hard copies. And why I love them, it's very easy to refer to the hard copy. I know it's also easy to refer to an online copy, but there's technicalities concerning storage as far as online is concerned. You can also lose information that you store. How many photos have you lost? I know now there's Google tools, but before that, how many photos have you lost that were on your phone? Maybe the phone was lost or something happened. But those hard copy photos that you printed 30 years ago, you still have them in your album. So from that angle, I prefer the hard copies a lot, because when we finish the marking, you see, we give the book to you when we register. You complete, you give it to us, we do the marking. When we finish, we give it back to you. So it becomes your property. You can always go back and refer back to these books. And we have about 10 courses that we have. But you can do this progressively. You start with the Discover, the simpler one, and then you move to the other, the harder ones. And also the beauty of this, what I've also seen, you can do this as a family. There are lessons for the children, lessons for the youth, and the teenagers. But you can actually do together, even that time when you do a devotion, you can do the lessons together as a family. Because I know it's very hard to get time. So you can use that time, be it 20 minutes or whatever time that you use, just to do the lessons. Could be with your child or whoever family member. And by so doing, it kind of gives you the push and encouragement to go. Because I've seen sometimes it's very hard to find time to do these things. And then for the graduation, it will be yourself and your family members. I think that's very, very interesting. Yeah, so that's the encouragement that I have. But as I close, I think the point of the integration, where we integrate these units within the church, is very, very critical, since we have one common goal. I just want to quickly look at the way forward also. We have a graduation coming now. We are proposing the date of the 26th of October. So those who can submit the lessons around the 30th of August, to enable us to have time to do the marking, they will be part of the graduation. You can also invite your friends so that they can witness the graduation. Some of the learners that we have, they've never been into the doors of a church in their whole life. And we take this for granted, that every Sabbath we are here. But some people have never set their foot into a church. So if you can invite some of those people to come to our church premises, that will be very, very good. Then what we also need to do for next year, we're discussing with Elder Mwinga, we want to look at a proper resourcing plan so that we have resources dedicated towards these programs. You know the situation that we are in as a church now in terms of resources. So if we can market the program, have people also contribute to this program. You see on the tithe envelope there's a space for special programs, and VOP is even mentioned there. They say, for example, VOP. So you can donate your 200 rand or whatever, then we dedicate it for VOP, then we have that cost center within the personal ministries where we have the funds, could be 3,000 or whatever that we raise to be able to fund the programs. And lastly also, the beauty also is we have the lessons, especially the Discover one. It's in the 11 official languages of South Africa. So nobody is excluded, even those ones in the villages. If you have like your family member, as long as they can read in their mother language, they are able to do the lessons. And then we can find some markers here in the church, because I won't be able to mark some of these, like that's one I won't be able to mark it. We find, if it's Zulu, Elder Mahlangu is here to help us with the marking. So everybody is covered in terms of the language. There's also a Chewa one. I was checking on the website. So you can also do in Chewa. I'll also check for the Zambian languages. They should also be, you know. Yeah, so everybody is covered as far as the languages are concerned. And let's support and use these powerful tools that we have in our church. Amen. Are there any questions by Elder?
Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, but they can hear me at least, yeah. So, yeah.
I want him to appear on TV. They want you to appear.
Sorry? Okay. Thanks, my leader. I think we have one person that is very passionate about the VOP, and he has a track record of what he has done for himself and also for others. So I think we need that passion to share the word. What we did, Pretoria East Cell Group, we went through this one because we'd share the other one. This week you share lesson 2, the other one lesson 3. So you can actually graduate the whole cell group, those that have been attending, because you went through the same lesson. So if you have gone through the lesson as a cell group or as a family, you can just forward the name because you have gone through it. That time we didn't know, I don't know was I the cell group leader at that time? Yeah, but I think I was the cell group leader. So we didn't know that we could actually graduate. That was before. So I think the cell group, if you have gone through it or use it as a tool that you go through, you can graduate. The other one, Sister Anna and the team that teach kids, I don't know how well you have been using it, the kiddies. You know that kiddies part of it?
Okay.
I don't know whether we can squeeze in people to summarize so that we can get at least some kids by the graduation in October. I don't know how well was I contacted the Sister Fulmame. I think Sister Sarombe, just a few those that could use it as a class lesson. And then as a teacher in that class, you make judgments if you went through the lesson, and then we graduate them. Remember, the most important is not to catch people that they are forgotten or something. Is to say, here are the lessons, we have gone through them, and we have successfully kind of agreed on the answers or something, on the principles that are being taught. Then we get the whole class to graduate. So we can actually push for that if there is still interest. Certain classes of Pathfinders say, guys, let's follow this kid. It's VOP, and then if the teacher can just get a lesson or two, just summarize the key point, because that's the most important. It's not to memorize everything. There's key point. David and the Goliath fought and other things, and God through David succeeded, something like that. And then you got the lesson, and then from there, we can actually do it in terms of the kids' class, and then we can do a graduation for that. Yeah, I don't know how we relate to the leadership, yeah, and then from there we can make it. There's still some time. We can still do it. Yeah, if they want support, there are a lot of, in AMO sometimes we discuss on who should help the kids. There are a lot of these madalas who can assist in some of those classes to summarize the key lesson. You can just say, for VOP, we're giving you 10 minutes, Brother Litit. Can you come and help us? And then he can easily summarize lesson 1 and lesson 2. It teaches us this and this and this and this and this. Are we together? Yeah. Bah, it's done. Next week, lesson 4 and 5, this is the lesson. Are we together? This is the story and the storyline. We do it.
That's like doing it in the church.
No, that is kiddies. Remember, there's kiddies. Yeah, like remember, there's kiddies. So we want to target also the kids. Yeah, so the kids have several classes.
Yes, we actually went.
Give her the mic, please.
Is it?
You know?
Brilliant.
Yes.
Give her the mic, please.
And it's not.
If people online.
What I'm saying is, we actually went through that book with my class. It was a friend class last year. Okay. And most of the things that we are doing there, it was actually part of our curriculum then, you see. So I want to find out, really, I would love my kid to actually graduate. So what I will suggest is maybe during Sabbath school, maybe we give them even 2 minutes, to summarize whatever. Like you are saying, maybe we can say chapter 1 and 2 this week, chapter 3 and 4 that week, chapter 4 and 5, so that they can graduate and be, look forward to another book and so forth. I don't know how we can do that.
No, that's why we work it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So I just want to follow up on that one. So I just thank you, Elder Mwinga, for bringing that. And I just want to follow up on that, and I want us to make it happen. So, and let's have one class as a pilot one, so that we don't make it a very big, kind of all over the show process. So we work with your class. I'm not sure what class it is, Sister. What class is it your class?
Yes.
What class is your what?
Now it's companion class.
Okay, how old? What's the age group?
Oh, the age.
Yeah.
Between 11 and 12.
Okay, that's fine. And how many are they?
I've got 8.
Okay, so I think we should. I'll check how many books we have.
No. We actually not even a pilot. We don't need a pilot. What we did when we were at that site, I approached, and I think I also gave you. I'm the one who gave you. Yeah. So I approached the leaders.
Okay.
So I actually gave them. I'm the one who gave them this,
so
that they
they
could
have the
actually
books.
follow. Yes. What we can do, like what she has confirmed, is to follow with other class teachers.
Yes.
Sister Floma Mayfi, they went through it, and then Sister Saurombe and a few others for the other grades. And then what we can do is to say, maybe for the remaining weeks, we can say you take this class,
Yes.
the other class, just to summarize or
Yes.
confirm as a marker or something.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can also help to summarize.
Yes.
So that we have a graduation for those other classes. They were already given, it's actually more than a year.
Can they
So-
graduate
so what
on
we-
the 26th of October?
Yeah.
Yes, we can. So, but what we need now, what we need, my elder, we need for whoever is graduating, for audit purposes, each one should have a book.
Okay.
And then they should have completed.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so yeah, so that's what I'm asking. So we might choose and say, for this 26th October, maybe let's work with this one class, maybe of 8 people or 10 people. Then in our next phase, we can target another class.
Yeah.
So that will make it doable, you know?
Yeah, what we can do,
because
okay,
each
maybe,
child should have a book where they,
okay,
for all the purposes.
okay. What we can do, I did distribute about 5. Then wait, maybe of those 5 can belong to different people for now. No, the teachers, they know them. The teachers, they know them. So what we can, we'll look at those who are available now. The teachers, they know that are available, that these guys, they went through this, and then we can give them this to say, maybe they will have to, maybe with the teacher, and then fill in the answer. Some of them, they are lower grade. Was this thing starts from grade 4, is it? The other one starts from grade, not grade 4, age 4. I don't know what age this thing. Sorry, I've forgotten what age. So what we can do is those which I gave to different teachers, let's come up with a modality of saying, if what they want is evidence, that side is to say, the book that belongs to Sister Saurombe and Sister Frumame and the other one, let it be, belong to individuals or learners, so that we have evidence, and then from there they graduate, and then we promise there.
Can we buy these books?
No, you know what we buy?
Because the kids will also want to.
Yeah.
No, we can make it. We can speak.
I think I might have, I'll check.
Okay.
I might have 8 copies, I might have.
Ah, they'll graduate, all of them, don't worry, they'll graduate.
Let's work with one class. So I think let's check when we finish.
They'll graduate, they'll all graduate, all of them, don't worry, they'll graduate, all of them. I think at home must. In fact, even teachers must have, yes.
And the elder of
Yes, and the kids' elder. Not to be nice, to be nice. It will be nice. So we'll look for, let's see if we can get online or something. Yeah, so don't worry. All of them, they'll graduate, including the teachers. Yeah, including the teachers, don't worry. And the elder and the associate master guide.
Amen, amen. Thank you. Elder Matumba, thank you very much. I think we need to move to Vespers so that we can make those. Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you, my elder. VOP, you know, we have churches that actually, we are going for Vesper now. So there are churches who are using these lessons. There are pastors who are not non-Seventh-day Adventist churches on Sunday, who have done the VOP school, and they would give them a certificate, and those pastors are using the certificate as a evidence that they are qualified to be pastors. You see how powerful the Bible school is. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contribution. I think we're just seeing one stanza of number 48, and then Elder Tete will share with us the nuggets for the week, and then we will work towards wrapping up the program of the day. Can we just do maybe one stanza? Number 48. Egupeleni sotogoza. 2. Egupeleni sotogoza. Sesibutana hekaya. Siletizinsugu zetu Jerusalem mencha. Togoza, 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 togoza. Gunde pelugu togoza ngobusugulu yeza. Last stanza. Ingoma zakhona zimnandi Siyabonga singathulis. Number 2. Siumisi Nkosi kamnandi eJerusalem entsha. Thokoza, 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 thokoza. Kungepheli kuthokoza ngobusukulu yeza. Okay. Can you call them as we sing, maybe? Just advise them that, okay, let's do another one. Giyaguma, I think it's the next one, eh? Giyaguma hecholtane, at the number 47. Yeah. 2. Giyaguma hecholtane nangapheshe yale ngiphontsiswa lime kuyo izwe laseKhenane sizophumla ezweni lihle elihle sekuyisikhashanyana nje yebo sihuphe ingoma kaMosi phezulu sibe noJesu phakade emagcekeni amahle akhanya kuphela uJesu lidwala lethu uqoshu busu.